Hey everyone, this is your stimulus check update, second stimulus check update and stimulus package update for Saturday, September 19th. This update is for those of you on SSI, SSDI, Social Security, and VA benefits, and for anyone else wondering about the second stimulus check and the stimulus package negotiations. In this video, I'm going to be going over the latest of what's being said by all of the representatives and leaders in Washington about the Problem Solvers Caucus package and the overall stimulus negotiations and where they're going. The Problem Solvers Caucus released earlier in this week what I think is the best compromise deal for the stimulus package that has been released in quite some time. Before I go over what's being said, I want to thank those of you that have subscribed to my channel and welcome you back. Thank you once again for watching. For those of you that haven't subscribed already, my name is Justin and I give stimulus check updates and give financial advice. So be sure to subscribe right now and hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified each and every time I upload a new video. And I would appreciate it if you hit the like button so that YouTube will share this video with others. So the proposal from the Problem Solvers Caucus that was released on Tuesday of this week addressed many of the sticking points and the issues that were kind of holding up negotiations on both sides. And it came together as a compromise from 25 Republicans and 25 Democrats that basically were sick of the games and sick of the political, pointing the finger at the other side and blaming the other side. And they said, let's just come together and let's get a deal that's a good compromise for both sides. And that's exactly what they did. So I want to talk about all of the things that are being said by all of the leaders in Washington regarding this deal and regarding the stimulus negotiations and the next stimulus check. Quickly, here's the rundown of the $1.5 trillion deal. $1,200 stimulus checks for individuals, $500 stimulus checks for dependent children, $500 stimulus checks for dependent adults, as well as a $500 retroactive stimulus check for dependent adults as well. A $450 per week unemployment benefit extension for 8 weeks, and then up to $600 per week after that. It included rental assistance and an eviction moratorium. It included 15% increases in SNAP benefits until the middle of next year, and 15% increase in WIC benefits until the beginning of next year. In addition to all of this, it also included the potential for a third stimulus check in March of 2021, as long as the economy is still struggling and as long as there are still economic problems. It also includes many other provisions that I've gone over in previous videos, so I'm not going to be going over anything else. But the stimulus checks are there, rental assistance is there, as well as other things that many people have been waiting for, like unemployment benefit extensions. So a lot of the good stuff and what the American people, I think, would give them the most help, it's all there. So what's being said by all of our leaders in Washington? First off, let's talk about what President Trump has said about it. President Trump said, quote, "I like the larger amount. I've said that some of the Republicans disagree, but I think that I can convince them to go along with that because I like the larger number. I want to see people get money. Something like that, we're getting closer," meaning something closer to what this $1.5 trillion proposal from the Problem Solvers Caucus is. Also, he said in a tweet, "Go for the much higher numbers, Republicans. It all comes back to the USA anyway, one way or another." So President Trump is calling on the members of his own party to up the number of basically the max amount that they will accept for the next stimulus package. Previously, they had said that they would do about $1 trillion for the next stimulus package back in July, and then lowered that even more when they released the skinny bill a few weeks ago. But President Trump is basically saying, let's get a deal done. Let's compromise. Let's come together and let's actually get some help to the American people that are hurting so badly. In addition to President Trump, White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows had some things to say also regarding this stimulus proposal. He has been one of the main negotiators along with Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and Stephen Mnuchin. Mark Meadows has had a lot to say about the stimulus negotiations and about the Problem Solvers Caucus proposal when he said that he has been, quote, "on the phone with some Democrat House members as well as a few senators last night, and that there are, quote, Republican senators and House members that are trying to come together." So he's basically saying, hey, there are people on both sides that are wanting to come together and wanting to get a deal done. And he also added that it's on us, the American people, to reach out to our senators and representatives and ask them to get together and pass a stimulus deal when he said, quote, call on their House member to make sure that they stay here and that we negotiate. At least let's use the $1.5 trillion new recommendation as a foundation for new negotiations. Let's use this, even if it's not exactly what the final deal is. Use the $1.5 trillion stimulus proposal from the Problem Solvers Caucus. Use that as your starting point for negotiations. It's already taken into account a lot of the sticking points of previous negotiations. So start with that and let's actually get something done. And Mark Meadows also said that President Trump, quote, was willing to embrace the $1.5 trillion number that was put out in the last day or so. So President Trump seems to be on board and his administration seemed to be on board as well. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell also had some things to say when he said, Republican senators, like working families across the country, had hoped the Senate would be spending this week completing more bipartisan pandemic relief. But then took a direct jab at Nancy Pelosi when he said, even Speaker Pelosi's own House Democrats are sick of her blocking COVID-19 relief. Nancy Pelosi has stood firm on her request for $2.2 trillion as a minimum amount for the next stimulus package and hasn't budged from that number. And there does seem to be a little bit of truth to what Mitch McConnell is saying, that she is receiving pressure from some of the members of her own party, even in the House of Representatives. Max Rose, a Democrat from New York, recently said regarding the lack of stimulus negotiations and the Problem Solvers Caucus stimulus proposal, quote, our allegiance is to our country, not our party leaders. To the leadership, we said this very simple message. It's time for you to stop playing games. Let's stop the charade. Let's stop this stupidity. Let's put the country first. So I've shared this quote previously from Max Rose, but I liked it so much I thought I would share it again. And he's so right. Let's stop the political games, let's stop the stupidity, and let's just get a deal done. Thank you, Representative Rose, for saying what we've all been thinking and what we've all been saying. Nancy Pelosi, Mitch McConnell, and the rest of you leaders in Washington, stop pointing the finger at the other side and actually work together and get a deal done that's a compromise from both sides. Your job is to represent the American people, and at this point, you're not doing a very good job. Treasury Secretary Stephen Mnuchin, who has been one of the main negotiators for the next stimulus package, has said regarding worrying about the budget deficit, now is not the time to worry about shrinking the deficit or shrinking the Fed balance sheet. But he also called on Nancy Pelosi to resume stimulus negotiations with him when he said, there is a compromise if the House Speaker is willing to move forward. I am somewhat concerned that she's afraid any deal would be good for the president. I've told the Speaker, Nancy Pelosi, I'm available anytime to negotiation, no conditions. Mnuchin and Pelosi did meet recently. However, it was only to discuss avoiding shutdown of the government at the end of September and to talk about a continuing resolution to get funding for the government until the end of the year. Vice President Mike Pence also spoke about getting more help to the American people when he said, he, meaning President Trump, said that we are going to spare no expense to help families and businesses, large and small, to weather the coronavirus pandemic. And he continued, nobody wants to give direct payments to American families more than President Donald Trump again. We sent those checks to American families. It helped people through this tough time. Vice President Pence basically reiterated what President Trump has been saying all along, that he wants to send out another stimulus check to Americans to get the help that they need. When speaking to reporters, Nancy Pelosi was seemingly trying to stick up for herself, as she's kind of become public enemy number one in these stimulus negotiations. She tried to stick up for herself when she started talking about the HEROES Act that was passed back in May by the House of Representatives. That was a $3.4 trillion stimulus package that was passed by the House of Representatives, but never got anywhere in the Senate. When she brought that up, she said, since that time, many members will attest the needs have only grown since May 15th, 4 months ago. The needs for the small businesses, for the restaurants, for transportation, and the rest. And regarding whether or not she was feeling pressure from moderate Democrats in the House of Representatives, she said, they don't say it to me. Basically saying that the House of Representatives, if they are having some issues and are trying to pressure her, that they're not telling her that. Well, obviously, she hasn't been listening to what the members of her own House of Representatives and the members of her own party are saying, because there have been quite a few of them that have been saying, let's get back to the table and let's compromise on this next plan. Nancy Pelosi also responded to President Trump when he was calling for Republicans to come up from their number when she said, "We look forward to hearing from the president's negotiators that they will finally meet us halfway with a bill that is equal to the massive health and economic crisis gripping our nation." The interesting thing about the Problem Solvers Caucus deal is it's a deal that's able to basically go down in numbers or go up in numbers. And the total package deal, even though it's a $1.5 trillion deal, with some of the boosts that are in there, it could actually go up to $2 trillion. So it's right there with what Nancy Pelosi has been calling for all along. The Problem Solvers Caucus deal really is a great plan, at least as far as compromises go for both sides of the aisle. After being asked about Congress potentially ending another week without a stimulus package deal or without negotiations moving forward, Representative Dean Phillips, a Democrat and a member of the Problem Solvers Caucus, said, quite simply, "It'll be a stain on this institution, on 1600 Pennsylvania. We created a framework that is reasonable, which is not easy to do in this culture or atmosphere." And Representative Josh Gottheimer, a Democrat from New Jersey and the co-chair of the Problem Solvers Caucus, said regarding their Problem Solvers Caucus proposal, "We were able to come together, 25 Democrats and 25 Republicans, to show that we can agree on the toughest issues that have been holding the sides apart. Here is a framework. Here is a roadmap. Let's take it and get this done." I agree with Representative Gottheimer here. Congress, use the Problem Solvers Caucus framework as a starting point. Get back to the negotiating table. Use this as a starting point. There aren't that many things you guys don't agree on. Let's get this deal done. Let's get stimulus checks to the American people. Let's get unemployment benefits back to the American people. Let's get rent assistance and an eviction moratorium and all these things that the Problem Solvers Caucus deal was calling for. The American people are hurting right now. Get a deal done. Once again, thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate each and every one of you. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Once again, I won't be posting a video tomorrow as I spend Sundays with my family and worshiping God. I will be back on Monday again with the latest stimulus package negotiations and the latest news that happens over the weekend. I do appreciate each and every one of you. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I will talk to you again soon.